All right, the feed's live. We'll just sit here and no. Looks like we got bouncing bars, so we're pretty good there. I'll do a little bit of a opening statement, then go into your guys' statements. Who wants to lead first on the statements?
Don't matter to me.
All right. Well, we'll go from my left to my right. So start
opening
off.
Statements? Two,
Like
three?
2, 3
minutes.
3 minutes.
3.
Okay.
Okay.
And good evening if you're starting to join us. We want to say thank you very much for the two gentlemen to take time out of their nights to come and stop and do this. We know they're busy. This is right at the heart of the election season. Their schedules are busy, and we really thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And one other thing we wanted to say is that for a lot of you that follow elections, local elections, or even national election politics on the sidelines, it's easy to kind of throw stones from the sidelines. But one thing I want to say is a thank you from ourselves, and also I think from that these guys had the commitment to run, and this is not something that's a commitment that's not taken lightly. It's not taken lightly financially or anything. I mean, it's an all-in, all-commitment thing, and I think a lot of us owe the people who run a debt of gratitude because it's something that you're all in, and it's got to be a little tough because you guys become the product.
Correct.
You guys become the product. Well, anyway, I want to say thank you again, and this is a webcast debate. I think this is one of the first ones of its kind for Calaveras County. And also the format tonight, we're going to let each of the gentlemen have a 3-minute opening statement. We have 10 or 12 questions that we'll go through with a couple minutes apiece, and then followed by a closing statement. I guess without further ado on it, we'll start with Gary there, and I guess there you go. Start with your statement.
My name is Gary Kuntz, and I want to be your sheriff. I have lived in this county for over 41 years. I've worked for the Calaveras Sheriff Department for 25 years. I've worked all departments within our department, with the exception of animal control, but I love my 2 dogs and my horse. And some of the things I want to implement is community policing and the resident deputy program. I think they're really vital to our community, and I've worked them before, and they've worked very well. And also, I'd like to add that public safety is not just the Sheriff Department. It's the California Highway Patrol, Angels Camp Police Department, fire, behavioral health, mental health, probation, DA's office, correctional officers, and on and on. I also want to have a good working relationship with the Board of Supervisors and the county department heads. It's vital that we all come together and work together, because if we all work together, it benefits the community. I also want to, as sheriff, hold town hall meetings on a regular basis throughout the whole Calaveras County, because what they may need in Arnold, they may be different what they need in Copper, vice versa. And also, the citizens of Calaveras County should have personal direct contact with their sheriff at these meetings. I also want to restore the public trust back in the sheriff department. I have what it takes, the background and ethics to be your sheriff. I just had overwhelming support and endorsement of the Deputy Sheriff's Association. I think they see in me, as sheriff, as leading our department into the future. Thank you.
All right.
Well, hello, everybody. I'd like to thank the Chamber and Golden State Cellular for sponsoring this, and for those of you who tuned in to watch it. My name is Ed Ballard. I'm a lifetime resident of Calaveras County. I graduated from Bret Harte. I served 5 years in the United States Navy. I have 23 years of law enforcement experience, 19 of them here with Calaveras County. Over the last 19 years here with Calaveras County, I have worked in every bureau within the department, and I know our department intimately. I've written and maintained many grants, worked on many projects, completed many budgets. Of the grants and projects that I've worked on, I've brought in approximately $60 million and 10 full-time employees into the county sheriff's department for our public safety needs. I have to tell you, I'm greatly concerned with the economic times right now. Over the past 2 years, we've had 27% reduction in our budgets. This year, we're facing approximately 17.5% more cut from the budget. These economic times are going to be trying for any sheriff. Over the next 4 years, it's going to be vitally important that we focus on maintaining a professional law enforcement agency that responds to your needs and keeps public safety of the utmost importance. We'll continue to work on enhancing efficiency for our deputies through technology. Response times will be priority towards 911 calls, so we show up when you have an emergency. I intend to expand the neighborhood watch programs. I do realize that the community and the sheriff's office can work closely together for our public safety needs. And I'll continue to work on the jail project. The jail project is vitally important to this county. The jail project is much more than a 240-bed jail or a 160-bed jail. The new jail project is a solution to our criminal justice problems. Once we get a new jail, we can hold criminals accountable. We can make our programs work. We can give probation a tool for probation violators, hold them accountable. But much more important to me about the new jail project, it's not just the jail. It's a $56 million project. None of the money to build this project is coming out of the county general fund. I'm getting a card, so I'm going to have to cut it short. But the most important thing about the jail project to me is once it's completed, ultimately, it'll mean one less new victim, and it's going to stop early release, and it's going to help our deputies and this community remain safer. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. We also want to thank the viewers and the listeners who have actually submitted close to 100 different questions. Some of these we've distilled down to where to paraphrase some of them, and by far the largest number of variations on it was questions on your guys' opinion on concealed carry. I know this is probably something you guys have been asked in your town halls and everything else. So that'll be the first one. We'll give each of you a couple minutes to talk about how your position on concealed carry, and then we'll work into some of the other questions. You want to start out with same format?
Okay.
Start off, yeah.
That is the number one question I've been asked in the campaign trail. I don't know why, but it's very important to a lot of people within the community. And my stance is, if you have good moral character and you fall within our policy and the California law, there's no reason you shouldn't have one. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
The Second Amendment means a lot to me, as all the amendments in the Constitution. One of the fundamental jobs of a sheriff is follow the rules of the Constitution. In the Second Amendment, it states that we can bear arms. I believe that anybody that walks in my front door to apply for a concealed weapons permit walks in that front door able to get one. It'll be up to them. Fill out the paperwork, fall within policy. But when you walk in my door, concealed weapons permit is not a problem for me.
All right. Okay, we'll move into our regular question. I also want to thank Diane Gray from the chamber. She's off camera, but she will be frantically waving yellow and red cards in handling the timing. And I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for letting us do this from their office tonight. Thank you, Diane. All right, now this is one that kind of a multi-part question for the first one. And do you guys want to alternate who starts?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
you
I'll
start
take
on this
one.
Okay. And this one is basically all of them are, what is the response time now on the average call now? And if elected, what do you propose to do to shorten the time? And also the second part of that is, what is the impact of budget shortfalls on response time? So I guess this is just pretty much a general response time.
Okay. It's a three-part question.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember all three
Yeah,
parts.
sorry. We can go back. We can break it up there.
In 2007, we did a staffing study and a strategic plan for our sheriff's department and what we needed to do to keep the community safe. During that time, our response times averaged 36 minutes, and that was even to priority, 1 calls or emergency calls, with an average total time at the calls of 90 minutes. 36 minutes to get there and 54 minutes to handle the call and clear it. Over the next 4 years, especially if the Sheriff's Department is faced or made to have that 17.5% cut, the only way we're going to effectively keep roughly 36 minutes of response time is focus on emergency calls only. We're going to have to reduce some level of service, which our citizens have become accustomed to. But we're talking low-level crimes, vandalisms, those types of things, alarms. After the third time, we probably won't show up. But the number one focus is always going to be on 911 calls or person crimes.
Got it.
Property crimes are going to have to be put on the back burner. We can help with those, we're working on technology where we can actually have, victims do internet reporting,
Right.
report the crimes.
Right.
We can do follow-ups that way. My goal is going to be to, try to maintain a great level of service where our citizens' needs are taken care of.
All right.
And that's about the best we're going to do during these economic times.
Want me to rephrase it or restate it here?
Yeah, go ahead one more time.
Okay, all right. What is the current response time, response to the average call now? If you're elected, what do you propose to do to shorten the time? And the second part to that is, what is the impact of budget shortfalls on response times? So I guess it's the...
Regarding response times, it again depends on what type of call it is, where the officer's at, the deputy's at. I mean, even when I worked the street, I know that if a call came out and I was a couple blocks away, I could get there in 3 minutes. And depending where I was at, and if I had to cover 2 beats, it would take longer. That's one of the reasons that I really believe in the resident deputy program, because an officer is assigned to, let's say for instance, Arnold. He lives up there, he stays up there. He gets to know the geographical area, he gets to know the streets very well, he gets to know where the trouble spots are, and he can make quicker response times from that location. And also, he can pass on that information down to the next deputy comes up to relieve him. So that's why it's real vital to have a community resident deputy program. And I don't know, right now the board's talking 75% cut. It's a kind of a preliminary type thing right now. I don't know what the actual cuts are going to be. It could be that we get cut less. The supervisor toying with the fact that maybe that need to prioritize who they cut more from and less from other agencies or whatever. So that's all going to be determined. My goal is to keep as many as deputies as possible, and because deputies are the backbone of this department. Without them, we can't function. So I think with the resident deputy program and the community policing program, we can help keep this along.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, next question. And I guess we'll alternate this, so we'll start with you, Garrett. Is that
Sure.
good? All right.
That's
Okay.
fine.
The question is, with budget cuts, and this is primarily a West County question, with budget cuts and the closing of the Valley Springs substation, crime continued to increase and fewer patrols in the area, what would each of you do to improve protection and service of the Valley Springs, Rancho, Calaveras, Jenny Lind areas, and where some of the which are some of the highest population areas in the county? That's the question. So,
It's been a fact over the years that Valley Springs area, that west end, the A-beat area, we call it the A-beat area, has the most calls for service. And substations are very vital, especially when I have planned as far as community policing, also a resident deputy down there. And we need our substations. I already have 2 areas that were promised to me that when I become sheriff, that I can use those free of charge. There's been times where I think that we need 2 deputies in that area because of the high volume of calls, because If you listen to radio or the scanner, you'll notice that in Valley Springs, they're going call to call to call, and maybe for say in Copper or some other area where it's a little slower, they're kicking back, and well, not kicking back, but they got a lot less calls to respond to. We used to have an E-beat, which covered San Andreas. I like to bring E-beat back, and E-beat basically was San Andreas area. They have got real busy in Valley Springs. They could go down there and help handle calls. So, yes, I want to put back a substation in Valley Springs. I think it's very vital to have it because it's very important that people can come to the substation and ask questions or bring things there or file a report there. Thank you.
All right, you need me to restate it, or?
Well, yeah, I think I got the gist of the question.
Okay.
But I think what the public needs to understand is the residence deputy program. Currently, we're faced at the end of this year with 16 patrol deputies. Calls come in 24 hours a day. We're not going to have enough people to do a resident deputy program now, or did we a year ago? We have multiple problems with the resident deputy program, although it's a great philosophy if you have the personnel to make it work. I do want to explain that we had a very good resident deputy program, but because of union issues, the resident deputy program went away. And I think I would like Gary to explain how you can establish a resident deputy program in these current economic times with the union problems that we have that shut it down.
Am I supposed to answer that?
I guess we'll allow a little back and forth, and then after that,
it's a debate, right?
yeah, and then but
is a
we'll try to
debate.
keep it. We'll try to.
I'm unaware of the union issues. Can you explain that?
Well, you were president of DSA, and if you remember, we had a resident deputy program, Copperopolis area. The DSA union had a problem with the resident deputy working day shift with less seniority than some of the other deputies, and it kind of canceled it out.
Yes, I must have. Because of my age, I must have forgot that one. I think I think we can do resident deputies, and I know I can because I have done the numbers and everything else, and what we need to do is get more people back on the street, and we can do that.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to the next question here. And this one is kind of an innovation question. This is kind of a paraphrase of a couple of them we had in. Is what innovative techniques and procedures will you use to meet staffing requirements for jail and patrol considering the declining budget? And we'll start off with you.
What you say the question again?
What innovative techniques, and basically this was a paraphrase of something of technology things, is what something new would you guys bring to the table that hasn't been done, whether it's a technology, throwing some of that, or an innovative technique to compensate for declining budgets and to meet staffing requirements for jail and patrol. Something a little out of the box, so to speak.
Okay. I'd mentioned the strategic plan that we came up with about 3 years ago. As part of that strategic plan, we started working on a capital infrastructure improvements, focusing in on our radio systems.
Okay.
We're looking at installing mobile digital terminals within the patrol cars. We'll be getting, I believe we're going to be installing 26 in August. What that's going to do is help as staff is reduced, especially dispatch. The deputies will be able to do the warrants checks, the driver's license checks, those types of things out in the field. So it's going to increase efficiency in the field for the deputy. Plus, it's going to alleviate an overwork load for our dispatchers to be able to handle 911 calls. In the jail, to try and increase efficiencies in the jail. In the current jail that we have right now, it is over 47-year-old jail. There's not a lot you can do in there. When we complete the new jail, designed within it and in the programming, it'll be much more staff efficient, but we have to wait till we get it.
All right. Okay. How about for you?
Okay, this new radio technology, the way I understand at this point in time from talking to people working on it, it's about 5, 6, 7, 8 years away. I mean, it will work in half the county, but won't work in the other county. You'd have to go up to certain hot spots and download stuff, so it's not really efficient right now. What I tried to do 3 years ago in the department was to go to online report writing. I mean, reports that citizens that, for instance, lost their cell phone or thought it was stolen, or some of those instances where they had to have a report in order the insurance company would cover it. They go online, type in information, short narrative, send it back, get a case number. Then they have a case number, they can give it to their insurance company and do whatever they need to do. That's one way of doing things. I wanted to do that 3 years ago and was never able to accomplish that. And as far as staffing the jail, like I said, we're going to have to wait till that's completed, but I'm sure this new jail is going to be much more efficient with the equipment and everything else because it's a new modern jail with new technology, and hopefully it'll all work very fine and very smoothly. And that's what we're kind of striving for anyways. Thank you.
All right. Now, the next question, and this is coming up because this is before the board now and everything. What is your stand on the proposed noise ordinance? Do you believe it's necessary? And what should be the priorities for responding? And what enforcement tools would you advocate? Fines, confiscation, jail time, community service? And start off with you.
Okay. There's been many times that when I did work the street and even as a operations commander that I'd get numerous calls from people complaining about motorcycle noise, loud parties, you name it, they complain about it. Would it be nice to have a noise ordinance? Yeah, I think it would be. The problem I see with it, and I probably won't have to be dealing with that very much, is because it's in the process now, is that how do you judge, what is too loud? One deputy, might the young deputy have 100% hearing, good hearing. Another deputy might have 75% of his hearing left. So what do we do? Get decibel meters and hold it out there from a certain distance and see what the noise is? I don't know. That's going to be kind of up to a group of people there to come up with some kind of a definition or something. And I guess county council would be involved in that, and the sheriff somewhat, and a few other entities that would be involved in that thing. And as far as wherever they come up to, as far as fines go, I would think the first time a warning would be, the second time it would issue was probably possibly a citation, and then they could, instead of paying it, they could do community service work or something like that. That's going to be up to a lot of people, and that'll probably be taken care of before I even take office. And wherever they come with, sheriff, I'll follow the law.
All right. Need me to restate it?
Yes,
or?
I do.
Okay. What is your stand on the proposed noise ordinance? Do you believe it is necessary? What should be the priorities for responding? And then on to enforcement, what would you advocate? Fines, confiscation, jail time, community service?
Do I support the noise ordinance that we're working on?
Yeah.
I absolutely do. I sit in the boardroom quite often, and I listen to our citizens talk about the quality of life issues that they're having involving noises. I do believe that we need it. I do believe that the sheriff's office needs it as a tool, and I think that that's how we should approach it. We should use it as a compliance tool to help quality of life issues within our communities. And I think it's going to be up to the individual who we contact with the new noise ordinance as a compliance tool. And if they continue to reduce quality of life, then natural progression through fines or whatever the board decides. And I know myself and the sheriff's office will use it as a compliance tool based on whatever the policy is set by the board.
This is not off the cue cards, but I think some people may be interested in this. I know this has come up. Now, in the past on noise-related issues, without an ordinance on the books, have you guys not been able to have a hammer to actually
No.
do anything? Is
No.
that the general?
No. Do you want me to go first?
No, yeah, either.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the past, where we handled, like, say, for instance, loud parties, The neighbor down the street would complain because the music's too loud. You would show up on a call, and yeah, it was very loud.
And this came up as particularly out of the Copperopolis area around the lake. I think at least those
Yeah,
are some
so
of the
that-
complaints.
that
Some of the
Barn,
complaints
Barn,
kind of,
Barn.
yeah.
So what had happened is that you would have to tell them, because being as happened to our president, we can't take action. I mean, we can't take action on that. So we would have the complaining party sign a citizen arrest form or
Right,
complaint.
right.
Sign that, and then at one time, a long, long time ago, we went out there and wrote them a citation, told them to turn it down. They refused to, so we ended up taking all their stereo equipment as evidence because of the commission of crime and took it down below.
Okay.
And when they got it back, there was no problem with loud parties.
Okay. Is that similar to you just guys didn't have the hammer? Is that
Well,
the,
you have the hammer, 415 of the penal code, disturbing the peace. Now, we can focus on that, but it is up to a citizen who calls and complains to, either do a citizen's arrest. We could go and advise them, that they're making too much noise or keeping the citizens up.
Right.
And I think it's highly individualized as to the deputy that's answering it. You can go there. Some of our deputies are fine deputies, and they can go and they can talk them down.
Okay.
It depends on the type of person that's there. But, we can take care of it while we're there.
Okay.
The problem is when you leave, then they start it back up.
yeah, and I didn't mean to veer off the
Nope,
script.
that's
I just
okay.
thought people were, because they're interested, because I mean, they hear that the noise ordinance there, but there was some background things on how we got here, so to speak.
Sure.
Now, this one, I guess, is the variation of what we've kind of called internally the Sheriff Joe question. Obviously, the economy is going. This is from Mike Shevlin in Copperopolis. Obviously, the economy is going to be a tough issue for the new sheriff. Would either candidate consider a tent city instead of the new jail facility? Also, what actions would be taken towards a neighborhood watch program or larger reserve officer program, even in our rural setting, with the declining number of deputies and increasing crime in our county? You want to start off with?
Kind of a run-on question here, but that's
It is, yeah. I guess we'll limit this one primarily to the Sheriff Joe piece, if you want to limit it to that.
That is a lot. On the campaign trail for the last 9 months, I
Probably heard that one before.
a
huh?
lot. How come we don't do like Sheriff Joe? Make them wear pink underwear, make them
Right.
eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches, keep them out in the heat, and that kind of thing. Law is different from state to state, and I don't really. If you did that here in California, put them in tents, and you can put them in tents for like emergency situation for a couple of days or something like that. Then you have to get them back out and release them or put them back in jail. We understand.
We could put them in a mine.
Yeah, there you go.
You know?
And that's something I'm leading up to here. But anyways, so, there's, California, they would have somebody out there in a heartbeat, and one good lawsuit for about, somebody wanted to go and go lawsuit for about $3 million would take care of a lot of revenue for us, so. But there's nothing wrong, and which I intend to do, is getting people out of jail, put them on a bus, going down, cleaning ditches, whatever it takes. We got to get them out of jail on some of these programs. And I even proposed one time that I was looking into the fact that maybe we get some kind of business up there, like a low skills type thing, like building pallets, and put these people to work, let them build pallets, and give them a little wage or something like that. So at least when they get out of jail, they have some kind of a work ethic, and maybe they'll find a job after that. Now, what was the last part of the question there?
And it's kind of a run. I mean, what we're taking towards neighborhood watch, officer reserve program, and kind of into the rural setting, the declining number of deputies. It's
Okay.
we don't even. You probably answered the
Yeah,
part of it.
Yeah. Bottom line is that with my community policing program and resident deputy program, I've covered pretty much of that. As far as reserves, now because of unions, not our unions, but because of unions in general, years ago, we used to have level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, level 5s, starting out with ceremonial, and they worked their way up. And we have some level 2s that were grandfathered in, but now you have to have went through a full-time academy and be a level 1 reserve in order to be reserved. We have a few, but they're starting to leave. It's because some were there to keep their certificates up, so the budget got better, they could come back and work in the courts again as extra hire, but they've seen that's kind of dwindling away, so they're leaving pretty fast.
All right. You mean to restate it?
Let me go one at a time.
Okay,
Tent
got
City. Sheriff Joe is in Arizona. They have different rules in Arizona. In California, we have Title 15 and the specific standards on how we have to house our inmates. In extreme emergencies, we can put them in tents, but it's only a limited time. Mike was the guy that asked the question?
Mike Shevlin from
Yeah.
Paparopolis.
Mike, I think, if the citizens could, petition who makes the rules and the laws and have that changed, I'd be more than glad to have a tent city. But up until that time, I do have to follow the rules. Second part of the question?
Also, what actions could be taken towards neighborhood watch programs and a larger reserve officer program?
Okay. Neighborhood watch programs, I think, are, especially during these times, will be vitally important to the success of the sheriff's department. Help us in our communities recognize crimes and help us solve crimes. Currently, we have a very good neighborhood watch program. I do believe we're going to have to expand it. I think with the declining resources that we may be facing or already have faced, I think it's going to be vitally important that if I'm sheriff, that I know I won't be able to do a resident deputy program, but I know that I will be able to assign a particular deputy to a specific beat. Currently, they're on a 12-hour plan, 2 deputies in each beat. So they'll be in that beat. They'll know their community. I will also make sure that they know each neighborhood watch captain within the beat. Part of their daily routines will be going and talking either in phone or in person to that neighborhood watch captain so that we can identify specific quality of life issues within those neighborhoods so that we can focus our efforts in those communities. Reserve program, our reserve program, like Gary explained, is lacking because of some of the new rules that came out. Last year we laid off 16 extra hires because of budget cut. All 16 of those extra hires, I don't know that to be true if all 16, I think a couple may have stepped out, but are on the reserve program. So currently right now we have quite a few on a reserve program.
All right. Aside from the budget, what do you think is the biggest issue facing the sheriff's department? And
My turn, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I think the biggest issue right now facing the sheriff's department, besides the budget and everything that we've been explaining right now, is the absolute need for that new jail. We have to get that new jail built so we can have a legitimate threat of incarceration so that we can prevent unnecessary victims. We do have a lot of good programs in Calaveras County, but they've been rendered utterly useless because there is no fear of repercussion of going to jail. And even serving probation. They violate their probation, there's no place to put them. Our deputies, currently we are over since 2007 when Measure J was passed and we put in for the grant to obtain the jail funding. We're at over 100 years of unserved time due to early releases. Those are the issues that are going to be the most important to help our deputies out in the street. 54% of the people that are being released early continue to commit crimes, some of them as much as 6 times while they should have been in jail. That is going to be the biggest issue to me, is getting that built.
Okay.
It'll make the whole system that we have much more effective.
All right, I'll restate the question, Gary. Aside from the budget, what do you think is the biggest issue facing the sheriff's department?
Okay. I'll touch on the jail at the end. One of the biggest issues I feel, and what I hear from the deputies, is that they want more interdepartmental training. And what I mean by that is that we're constantly bombarded with posts to watch these updates and training videos and that type of thing. And we need this training so we can cross-train with mental health, the DA's office, California Highway Patrol, fire, that kind of thing, so we can develop a working relationship, so we know what the other person's doing at all times. So I think that's one of the things that is one of the problems that we're facing right now that needs to be corrected. As far as the jail goes, yeah, the jail is important, but the jail's not going to get built tomorrow. It's going to take 3 to 4 years, and I would lean toward 4 years because I have 6 years of background prior to becoming a deputy sheriff of construction experience, and what they say can build on paper sometimes it may take longer. Every big project I've ever worked on always went over. So that's going to automatically be built, and so when it's done, you know, we'll deal with it, but it is an important issue. Thank you.
All right. You know, this is one that we had a variations on, is how important is grants to the Sheriff's Department, and how much have you brought into the Sheriff's Department through grant writing? A paraphrasation, I guess, you know, the grant process, and you know, how would you go about optimizing getting grants?
Okay. Grants in this day and time, they're very important in the department. I worked on about 2 grants. When a big grant is written, it's a group effort. It's you have to have some people pulling statistics, some people doing research, other people in the office are writing little paragraphs of what they've done, how they would fit in the grant, and then it has to go to an editor, and get checked, and then finally gets all put together, and then gets sent off. I worked on a couple of grants, and they're vital, but I am not applying for a grant writing position here. I'm running for sheriff, and as sheriff, don't write grants, and so I have capable people within the department that can write grants for me. Thank you.
All right. And the question is, how important is the grant or grants to the Sheriff's Department? And to paraphrase this one again, is how would you optimize that? You know, as far as seeking grants.
I think first I'd like to say that you know, by the end of this year, we're going to be down to 3 administrators. It's going to be vitally important that the sheriff, number one, knows how to write a grant. You know, the grants that I've written, Gary's explained some of them. Vast majority, I collected the data. I done the need. I presented it. You know, I did everything to submit it. So the sheriff, you know, will be, when it leaves his office, he better know what's leaving his office if his signature is going to be on it. So he should absolutely know how to write a grant and how important grants are. Grants are what are saving most of our deputies from last year to this year to provide the services to the county. They are very important, and the sheriff better know how to write them.
I guess kind of a follow-up question, this is kind of off the scripting, but I think a lot of people want to know, is in the current environment and running a law enforcement agency, what percent of your budgets and department stuff, I think, is grant run? I mean, because isn't a lot of Clay's budget at OES and all of that stuff, isn't a lot of his, I mean, he's been a pretty efficient grant writing machine. You know, I guess this isn't a hard question for either, but maybe he comments on it, you know, as far as what percentages, I mean, what's it look like now running? Is it a lot of it grant run rather than general fund dollars?
I think we've developed into a position where a lot of what we do is dependent on grant writing. All the emphasis that I've been putting on the radio projects and to better serve the public and their safety. Those things we write grants for, so they're not taken out of general fund. A lot of narcotics enforcement is done with grants, so they're not taken out of general fund. To the best of my knowledge, we've been asking for new general fund positions since I've been at the Sheriff's Department, and I cannot think of one new general fund position that we've gotten from the board. I stated earlier that we did a staffing study and a strategic plan in 2007. Based on that plan, we were 8 positions low at that time in 2007. It's always been our goal to try to build our department to meet our public safety needs without specific impact on a general fund. But certainly, during these times, I think everybody needs to understand that we got to this point, and I'm hoping that as we recover, the county will understand the importance of general fund positions, and we won't be so grant dependent.
Is that, to paraphrase that, is anything you want to, is that been true? You guys have been a lot of grant, I mean,
Yeah, yes,
just,
we
to
have.
keep, just to keep the boat afloat, so to speak?
That's true. There is, every agency in California is writing grants left and right. Matter of fact, there's even equipment companies now that sent, when I was working with Chief Supply out in Oregon, they even sent me a list of grants and said, we'll write them for you. You just tell which one you want as long as you buy the equipment from us.
Got it.
And, they're even doing that now. They're getting real competitive in that. Captain Hawkins, we were referring to as Clay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's all right. He was the guru of grant writing, for lack of better terms. He taught a lot of us how to write grants, and I know that Homeland Security, this radio project, and the bomb squad equipment and all that stuff were bought out of grants. And our phones, everything were bought from grants. And grants play a big part of the sheriff department nowadays. But sometimes grants can be double-edged swords, especially with personnel. We've got, I think, 7 positions now, if I'm correct, in the narcotics task force. Now, once you put those 7 positions in there, you can't use them for nothing else, or what's called supplanting. So they are basically locked in those positions. If you take them out, other than emergency, you will lose your grant the following year and lose those people. So, you got to be real selective when choosing grants, what you're going to write for, and what your needs are going to be for.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to the script. Sorry, I veered off, but I
That's
think
okay.
I've done a little
That's
because I
okay.
think there's sometimes in these questions, if I think sometimes the general public needs a background on some of them. Okay, this is back to one of the tough ones. How do you, or have they been?
No, I'm going on this.
Okay, sorry.
Back to myself.
How do you manage expectations of full employment in the face of declining revenues? And who wants to start on this? I forgot how. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
One more time.
How do you manage expectations of full employment in the face of declining revenues? And we had various variations of this. I think it's just in some ways managing expectations of staff. I mean, what's the?
Okay, as sheriff, I will go back in that department. We'll start from the top to the bottom. And we'll look at every little nook and cranny that we can do some cuts to save our employees. And it's going to take some creative, out-of-the-box thinking and budgeting to do that. I can think of right now that it'd take a while to explain all, but how we can do that. And what happened, like during the Great Depression, is that when it started coming back, when the economy started picking back up again, we were forced to do things differently and come up with new business ideas, new ways of using our resources better. And I look at it as a crisis as an opportunity. For every bad thing that happens, if you look real hard, you'll find 7 positive things that could take that place and be more productive and such. I worked in the private sector in construction. I worked 17 years 16 years as a superintendent of a company, and we became so proficient that we could do, with 4 people, we could do what everybody else was doing with 10, 12 people. Just because you learn how to do things, you learn how to become proficient, and that's what's going to take is a lot of out-of-the-box thinking, and also we have to listen to our. I don't want to have a top-down style leadership where a couple people make all the decisions and it trickles down to everybody else. I want to have more of a broad-based leadership style, because deputies have come to me, sergeants and corporals have come to me many times to say, Lieutenant, why are we doing it this way? It does not work properly. They know what's needed out in the street. The people in the office riding the desk do not know. And I try to push their ideas up to the top, but it always fell on deaf ears. They had the way they wanted to do it, and that was it. And so with my broad-based leadership style, I'm going to listen to everybody. Everybody has good ideas. And, we all need to come together and figure out how we're going to do this thing. We can make it. We've already been cut 44%. I think it was 47%. And we're still surviving. So that was a lot of, if you want to look at it, that was a lot of fat. So I think that with group effort, teamwork, we can make this thing work without losing employees. I really believe that.
All right.
Thank you.
Question: how do you manage expectations of full employment in the face of declining revenues?
Well, I think how you manage expectations is by being truthful. There's people that have been there for a long time. I think that they need to understand that we're going to do the best we can to save their positions. Last year was the worst year that I've ever gone through at the department as far as full-time positions. Last year, we lost Gary because of the budget cut. Gary's position, I'm 24 years at the Sheriff's Department. The sheriff decided that it was the number one priority was public safety. Public safety was the deputies on the street, and we were going to cut from the top. So how do you make expectations? I guess with the truth. Like I said, we did lose Gary last year. The DSA would not let him back into their union, or he'd still be here. So expectations and security, I guess, can only be handled with the truth.
All right. Okay. Next question: will you keep open the substations and reopen the Valley Springs substation? Who's okay,
I think,
here.
I think it is my turn.
Yeah.
The substations, we absolutely, if I can, I would like to keep them open. The resulting budget cuts that we had, it's getting even difficult to pay the utility bills in those substations. But as long as we can pay the necessary utility bills or other reasons why we have to keep them open, I will keep them open. They're vitally important to the communities.
All right, Gary. Will you keep open the substations and reopen the Valley Springs substation?
Definitely. We, falling back to my platform with community policing and the resident deputy program, we have to have the substation. We have to have a place where the volunteers can go and deal with the people that come in that don't want to drive all the way to San Andreas or get on the phone and try to call in. And dispatch is busy with other calls. They put them on hold. They can just drive over there and speak to someone. It definitely, we got to have the substations. And right now, we have, I think, 5 of them right now, and they're not costing a whole lot. The last one we just opened up was in McComley Hill, where all we do, we have a great office. Myself and Captain Anderson put that together, and all we pay is $100 a month for electricity bill, part of our electricity bill, and of course the cost of the phone, which is not that much. But they're very vital because an officer can go in there and write a report or whatever he wants to do, and then people can see it open. People come up and talk to the officer. It's good PR. It's very good PR. It's getting the community connected back with the police officers again. That's what we need. Thank you.
All right. We're running through these questions, and one thing I want to say, it's kind of nice doing the sheriff's one because you guys are pretty prompt and used to. It's not like the supervisor's one where they're running. No, I'm just kidding. Diane hasn't had to wave the red flag much at all.
I got a little terminology, but that's right.
Yeah. One question, though, that I think was in the pile that we didn't get to the top is in the face of the declining budgets, the volunteer programs, the volunteer programs, how important are those right now, and what would you do to optimize those?
Did I say start this time?
Yes.
Okay. Volunteer program is very, very important to the sheriff department. They put in thousands of hours for free. I ran the volunteer program up to the time I left. One thing that the volunteers right now have to do, which I don't agree upon, and I never did, is that the sheriff makes them buy their own uniforms. He makes them pay for their own radio batteries. I think now they finally have their cars serviced at sponsorships, or our mechanic does it. And even at the end of the year, when they put on their party, they got to pay for it. And they get to invite people. They have to pay for the whole dinner. Number one, volunteers are free. Uniforms are expensive. I will find some way, if I have to raise the money myself, to buy them uniforms. And they shouldn't have to buy their radios, their batteries for their portable radios, even buy their own portable radios. That's crazy. We've got these people who are willing to work for us and do it for free, and we're making them buy their equipment. That is ludicrous. And that's one thing that I will do. I will make sure they, actually before I left, I used to give them, I bought them new batteries anyways to give them to them, so. But they can't do nothing about it now because I'm gone, so. But no, it's very important that we build on our volunteer basis, and we need to let them do more. They want to do more. They want to go out. I feel that there's a training program out there I looked at that they can go out and get trained. They can serve civil papers, I mean, you don't want to send them to some madman's house or something where a deputy needs, but they can serve civil papers. They can serve subpoenas on certain subpoenas they can serve. They want to do more, but they're not allowed to. And what they basically do now is vacation house checks when people go on vacation prep, which is really, really appreciative of the people. So quit making them buy their own uniforms. Like I say, if I have to buy them, I'll buy them myself. But yeah, they are a very vital group of people to have within the sheriff department. Thank you.
The question, you mean to restate it again? What would you do to optimize or how important is the volunteer program?
Our volunteer program is vitally important, and I've actually, over the last several years, especially with the budget cuts, seen the value even more. They've been helping us out immensely at the sheriff's office with taking over some of the sheriff's tech's jobs when they're out. They continue to be an asset out on the street. And yes, they do want to do more. Doing more requires additional vehicles. Doing more requires additional funding for training. So ultimately, I would like to get there to where they can do more for us, but we'll have to wait until times are a little bit better so we can buy them additional patrol cars or additional radios.
All right. Now we've got about 9 minutes left. We'll probably answer just one more general question. We'll go into your closing statements and things like that. Okay. The one that we had a ton of variations of it, but I was trying to figure out how to write this as a question that could be answered succinctly, and it's the medical marijuana question. And you guys have probably had it. And I was just, I was just like, okay, well, they have to just follow the laws that are in play, but I would just thought, yeah, we might as well, I guess whoever wants to start on it. I guess the press has described, and I think fairly, Sheriff Downham as an outspoken critic of medicinal cannabis, and I think the policies of the Sheriff's Department accurately reflect that approach, and he's certainly admitted that. How is your approach to medical cannabis different, especially in terms of aggressive enforcement, patients' rights protected by Prop 215? That was the question as it was written there.
Well, certainly. I worked in narcotics investigations prior to Proposition 215, and I worked in narcotics after the passage of Proposition 215. During that time, I followed the laws and the guidelines as was directed. And that's what a sheriff's office needs to do. Follow the laws, follow the guidelines. When people are in compliance with it, there is no enforcement. I was actually checking the stats prior to Proposition 215 and after Proposition 215. Our stats after 1996 when it passed almost went away for personal possession. They maintained kind of a constant level, but not as much prior to the passage of Proposition 215 for sales of marijuana. So as far as specific personal use, we follow the law. I always followed the law, and I'll continue to follow the law.
All right.
I was just shown a set of stats about a month ago. I didn't bring them with me. I was share them with you. But right now there are some 100 and some cases, we understand, sitting on the DA's desk right now for review on the use of medical marijuana. And as far as medical marijuana is one, I think from what I understand, from what I hear, is that basically people who fall outside of the parameters of Proposition 215, and they're maybe getting that they got a scale and some packs of material stuff, and they got a 215 car where they're dealing. So, long as the card holders stay within the realm or the parameters of Proposition 215, they should be okay. Now, what I think needs to be done is, because we had a few cases where I think they've been taking their marijuana and everything else, is that there needs to be better training for the deputies on all the laws of Proposition 215. There needs to be some coordination between the sheriff department and the DA's office to see what kind of cases they will prosecute, rather than send them to the DA. I mean, that needs to be a cohesiveness there, effort, because why waste our time and our deputies' times to write reports, book in marijuana, and send to the DA's office if the DA's not going to do nothing with it. So that's what we need to do. And also, as sheriff, I will follow the laws. And like anybody else, some people don't like laws, but that's not up to us to decide. We need to follow laws. I want to be a professional sheriff and not a political sheriff. Thank you.
All right. Okay, it's closing statements time. So let's see, who wants to go first on the closing statement thing? How do we?
Sure.
All right.
I'll
And then
go
I guess,
first.
yeah, we
Okay.
got 5 minutes still, so you've each run 3 minutes or whatever, and I'll tell it, and then we'll try to get you guys out of here on time, because I know you guys are busy. So.
Certainly. I would like to close again thanking the Chamber and Golden State for sponsoring this, and for the people at home listening to these issues. I've told you what I'm going to do and what I'm going to concentrate on, and I am asking for your support come June 8th. Over the last 5 years, I've been working with the Board of Supervisors and every department head at our county. And I know I have a solid relationship with them, as evidenced on April 13th, when the Board of Supervisors allowed us to proceed with the jail project to meet our public safety needs and protect the citizens of this county. I'd like to look you in the eye and tell you that I'm going to bring back a resident deputy program, but what I can tell you is it can't happen. But what I can do is assign a specific deputy to your beats, instill in them a sense of community and what that means. I can focus the resources that we have on quality of life issues within your communities, and work out and expand from that. I would also like to tell you, I would very much love, as your sheriff, to be able to come out in the community, have coffee with you, visit with you. But I know in these economic times, over these next few years, it's going to be my highest priority to make sure we maintain what we have for your safety. And again, I ask for your support come June 8th.
All right. All right, Gary.
Okay. Assigning deputies to an area that work, same thing as, it's just about like a resident deputy program. As your sheriff, you will get resident deputies, and we will have community policing philosophy. I've got 25 years of service with the sheriff department. I know what I'm doing. I would like to have your vote on June 8th, and I will have town hall meetings, and because we have to have town hall meetings. The sheriff needs to have personal contact with the citizens of their county. We just don't have town hall meetings or show up when it's election time. We do them all. So anyways, again, I'll see you June 8th. I hope for your vote, and that's all I can say. Thank you very much. And also thanks Cellular Telephone and the Chamber for sponsoring this event, and for all of you people out there who took the time to participate in this, and it was good to hear your concerns. Thank you.
And wanted to close by saying thank you again. Thanks to the Chamber and Golden State Cellular, and also thanks the most to the candidates who showed up here, and also one of the.
Most of us. There's only 2 of us.
Wow. Okay.
Who else is running, Gary?
I don't know.
Well, I guess well, one of the things we wanted to say that was kind of interesting is, and I told them, each of them separately, is at the candidates' night at Independence Hall, I was looking through all the people assembled there, and the only 2 couples that were holding hands through the entire thing were both of you guys and your wives. And I thought I don't know, it must be something in the water in the sheriff's department or something that's good for marriages.
I thought you meant me and him held hands.
No.
You know, John, thank you for bringing that up, because it's been you know, I was kind of centering on everything here and what I want to do as a sheriff and all that other stuff. But the most important thing in life to me is my faith and my family. And I definitely want to let everybody know that I have the best wife I think a man could possibly have. She's been a true champion through this, and I thank her very much for her support.
And same with me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you
All
next
done?
time. We're done.
We're done, man.